and happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of Mavens of Manufacturing, which is the video broadcast series that features the powerful women from the shop floor all the way to the C-suite who are changing the world through engineering and manufacturing. Today, I have right now two ladies with me. I have Kaelyn and Natalie from Columbia Okura. We're hoping that Jessica will be able to join us later on in the conversation. But before that, hi Kaelyn, hi Natalie, how are you doing today?
Hi, we're doing great. Jessica
Hap-
actually has joined us, so she's
Oh,
sitting right next to me. So we'll bring her
awesome,
in
awesome.
a little bit.
Sounds good, sounds good. Well, before we get the episode started, I like to start off with some background information. So, Natalie, you are part of the marketing department at Columbia. So, can you just start off with who you are and then get into a little bit of who Columbia is and some of the products and services that you provide?
Sure, I'd love to. So I've been working for marketing for over 20 years. So my experience spans in various industries, including footwear, mining, and manufacturing. I've been with Columbia Okura for over 8 years, where my job consists of managing marketing materials, brochures, sales materials, catalogs, our website, social media profiles. The list goes on, just a nice variety of different things. And of course, attending trade shows. To give you some background on Columbia Okura, we specialize in robotic palletizing solutions. So anything that you see on a store shelf has been palletized at some point by us. So we place it on a pallet for shipment, or even in some instances, it's sold directly off of the pallet. So think of Costco. Anything that you see on a pallet, our robotic palletizers will do that. Our team of engineers interface with robots, end-of-line solutions, and equipment, including conveyors, shrink wrappers, pallet dispensers, and other things of that. Our team works with clients across a range of industries, products, and packaging to design solutions for their production facilities. The robots we integrate are purchased from Okura Yosoki in Japan, and the team installs end effectors specific to our customers' products and packaging. Additionally, our team of technicians offer technical support after we sell our robots. We can troubleshoot for customers from our headquarters over video calls, and we have service technicians across the US that are able to go to customer facilities for maintenance or repairs should that be necessary. Our focus is to supply end-of-line palletizing systems and applications has enabled our business to excel and succeed in this space. We offer large industrial robotic palletizers, collaborative robots that can work alongside employees and are on a much smaller scale, and automatic bagging machines from our partner StayTech vendor. Columbia Okura has been in business for over 25 years as part of the Columbia family of brands. We're located in Vancouver, Washington, and we are proud to share that we have sold over 1,000 systems for our customers across the US and Latin America. And with that, I'd love to share with you a little corporate video that we put together.
Absolutely. So, everyone who's tuning in, hang tight. We're going to show this video and then we'll pull everybody back in. That is super cool. You mentioned Costco, and that's like one of my favorite places to shop. So now every time I go in there, I'm just going to be thinking about Columbia.
Right?
Hi, Jessica. Thank you for joining us today. So,
Hi.
I want to get a little background information about you and Kaelyn. So, Jessica, would you like to start off with a brief introduction of yourself and what your position is at Columbia so that our audience can get an idea of some of the positions that are included at Columbia?
Sure. Okay. So yeah, I'm Jessica. I'm a robotic assembly technician. So everything that involves setting up the robotic palletizing systems basically is what I do.
So, what is your background before that? Like, how did you get involved with manufacturing and how did your journey end up at Columbia?
So my dad is a machinist at Columbia Machine, and I
Okay.
started out as summer help about 4 years ago, which the summer help position is um, for normally people that are in college or um, related to somebody in the company, then they can have like a 3 month temporary position. And then from there, I got an internship in block assembly. And then from there, I ended up moving to paint department and I worked there for a few years. And then I came over here just to help out. And then they had open positions and I applied and ended up getting hired on over here at Columbia Okura.
So, were you on your way to college or kind of in a transition period from getting out of high school and then figuring out what you wanted to do for the rest
No,
of your life?
sorry, they actually made an exception for me. I wasn't in college. I was 26 at the time and newly single mother. So they made
Gotcha.
an exception that I wasn't in school because my dad works there. So
So, when you came on board, were you familiar with any of like the technology or knowledge that you needed to be in the position that you are now, or how did you pick up on that knowledge? What sort of things did Columbia do to educate you on some of the things that you were doing?
so no, when I started at Columbia Machine, I didn't have a lot of experience. I did have experience using some tools because I've always been helping my dad with projects at home growing up or working in the car. And mostly when I was in block assembly, they taught me how to like drill and tap and use various power tools. And I just kind of was trained along the way on doing all of that. So,
Nice. Well, Kaylin, thank you as well for joining us. Can you give us some background information? Because you're an intern, correct, right now at Columbia?
Yeah, I'm the intern for the mechanical engineering department.
So, how
Um,
did you find out about this internship, and what were some of the things that, you know, in your background that led up to this interest in manufacturing and engineering?
so my dad actually also works for Columbia Okura, and he mentioned that
Okay.
they had an internship open and that I should apply. I was just finished last year about this time. I was just finishing up my senior year of high school, and they said I should apply to the internship, and I ended up getting it. And that's kind of how I started at Columbia. And for a background, I've always kind of had a strong interest in engineering because my dad is an engineer. So at home,
Okay.
always building model rockets or just stuff out in the wood shop. And as I got into upper level math in high school, I started to really like some of the things that are integral part of engineering. And
Hmm.
I decided that's kind of the way I want to go. And now I'm in school for engineering and getting to continue the internship with Columbia.
That's very cool. So you're doing the internship remotely right now, or?
Yeah, it's actually really awesome. I get to work minimal hours right now because school is difficult,
Yeah.
but I work remotely from Colorado and I do all of my internship from here. And then in the summer, I'll be back in the office.
That's really cool. So how does that connection work then with your internship and what you're doing for school? Like, are you getting some sort of transferable credits? Is Columbia, maybe this is a question for Natalie, does your tuition get reimbursed, or what sort of benefits are you getting as an internship through Columbia?
I think one of the biggest benefits is just the actual application of the things I'm learning in school. Um,
Okay.
because especially like I'll learn a concept in class, but we don't get to practice the application a ton. And then I go to Columbia and they're like, we need you to make this. And I'm like, oh, I was just doing that. Okay, this is what you actually do with it. And it's especially been helpful for computer-aided design skills. Columbia took me with no experience in Inventor at all, which is the 3D modeling software we use.
Okay.
And they've been training me from the beginning in all of it. And I was actually able to pass the first of the exams to show proficiency in 3D modeling software here at school. And I fully credit Columbia with that because they taught me a lot of the skills I needed for that.
That's really cool. So Natalie, in terms of the technology that you're using at Columbia and some of the processes that you're doing to build these robotic palletizers, what continuous improvement or continuous education opportunities outside of the internships do you offer to employees who are either brand new or they need to sort of upskill what they're already doing to keep up with the advancements in technologies? Because right now in manufacturing, a lot of things are changing more rapidly than before. Technology is advancing on a regular basis. So how does Columbia help its employees keep up with that pace?
So we have some programs that we offer in-house where we actually have folks outside come in and train all of our employees on new and innovative technology that's out there. We also offer tuition reimbursement for our employees to actually go outside and continue their education. So, and in Kaelyn's particular instance, she actually, even though we don't reimburse her for her tuition, she actually is a paid intern. So she actually gets paid, which obviously will help for paying books, tuition, whatever
Right.
be it. So she is not a volunteer intern. She actually does get paid.
That's awesome. And college is really, really expensive. My daughter's going through the process now of saving for college because unfortunately that's something that I can't completely help her with. I can help partially with it, and she's in the process of like applying for scholarships and looking for internships as well too. So I think that's wonderful that while you're going through school, you have the opportunity to work with a company that actually has something to do with the degree that you're pursuing.
And
Um,
It's really nice actually. It's kind of a very unique opportunity to get to work remotely and like have minimal hours during school, but still get to keep the position. It's not very common in the industry, so it's I really appreciate getting to do it.
Yeah. So Natalie or Jessica, I'm sorry, I see Natalie's name and I'm looking at Jessica and I just called you what I saw at the corner, so I apologize for that. But Jessica, you mentioned that you're a mom in that you were a single mom and you joined Columbia. What are some of the great things that Columbia has to offer in terms of that work-life balance? Because I was a single mom for the longest time with my daughter, and one of the things that I struggled with during my career was finding that work-life balance. Some of the companies that I worked with, it was really hard to like leave at certain times if she got hurt or got sick. Now that I have two boys, I just recently pursued my freelance full time, so I'm able to pick my hours and pick the projects that I work on, which is going to be helpful in case they have to go to the emergency room for being crazy like they are. What are some of your favorite things that Columbia does to help with that work life balance?
Well, we are offered quite a bit of, I can't remember how much per year of PTO. Do you know exactly?
So there's 3 weeks of PTO, which is just personal time off, whether you're, needing to be away for yourself or your family. And then we also offer a lot of, if you are personally struggling from like health and wellness, we actually offer three free counseling sessions, as well as many other things that really help to maintain just being a parent in general. I know I've used it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, can you ladies talk about like your actual day in the life in your positions? Like, what are some of the things that you do as a routine in your positions? Jessica, can we start with you?
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into these systems. So typically we start out with um, an area in the shop that's cleared of everything, and you have to look at the blueprints and figure out where the robot base is going to be sitting, because there's support beams in the shop, so you can't set it up to where you start setting up conveyors and then they run into one of the support beams. So you have to take measurements, and then we mark the floor and lay out chalk lines, and then we set the robot base first. I'm getting ahead of myself. And then so we have to drill with a hammer drill into the concrete to anchor the base to the concrete.
Okay.
And then snap the chalk lines, and that's zero. Your zero mark is where the robot is. And then you measure off of that zero to place all of your conveyors. You have to put the legs on the conveyors and mount all the hardware on them. And the photo eyes are lasers that tells the robot when the product is incoming, when the product has arrived and it's ready to be picked up. And so there's a lot that goes into it.
That's really cool. What about you, Kaelyn? What does a day in the life look like as an intern at Columbia?
So most of what I do is in the engineering office. A lot of it is on the computer doing things with 3D modeling software. So kind of looking from assembly side, I might be given a shop packet, which is what Jessica uses to know how it's laid out, from one of the engineers to review, and then like mark up and make small changes to. And then after that's done, I'll print it back out and take it out to the shop for them. And then also a lot is like a part, maybe we have a part that we buy from another company that we need to have a model internally to be able to put it into other assemblies. So I might be given one of those parts and sit there with calipers, measure it all out, and then remodel it in our software so we have something internally to use. And then lots of asking the engineers questions as I'm doing projects, just talking to everyone and learning as much as I can.
That's really cool. We do have a question from Angela Thurman, who's tuning in. Hi, Angela. Thank you so much. She says, how is Columbia Okura incorporating Industry 4.0 in the factory?
Well, that's a great question. So we continue to work on that. It is very difficult for our division because so much of it is truly hands-on. I can say for Columbia Machine, we have actually implemented a lot of robots with welding and making consistent patterns. A lot what Jessica does is doing the actual wiring themselves, and it really does require an individual at this juncture to set up and do the complete installation. A lot for us is more in the processes that we're focusing on and making sure that we are putting our best foot forward and having the best technology to help us grow as a company. A lot is within, we're offering, I mean, COVID really changed who we are as a company. We used to have all of our customers come out, view our systems after they're completely set up in our facility for what we call an FAT, which is a factory acceptance test, to make sure that they understand all the patterns that we built are exactly what they wanted. And then we also do a training. So now we've learned that we can do a lot of this remote. And so we actually are conducting live FATs where the customers can sit in their office, and we actually use Teams as our platform and conduct everything live. We have a machine that will walk around the complete system as we have the live video going, so they can see the patterns being built. They can actually ask live questions where we're looking at the control panel, and we can actually guide them through how to build a pattern in the comfort of their office, so they don't have to take the time out of their busy schedule to travel out to the West Coast, be here at least overnight where the training is. And so it's really more efficient of their time as well as ours. So those are some of the things that that we have put in place.
That's really cool. We have a LinkedIn user. Sorry, I don't know who you are. It's popping up as just LinkedIn user, but glad to see and hear about all about this conversation. Cheers. Um, so in terms of, being women in the sector, it's still pretty much a male dominated sector. And one of my missions is to, increase women's presence within engineering and manufacturing. And I have to give a shout out to, my mentors throughout my journey, some of a majority of them who have been men. Without their guidance and their advice and their encouragement, I don't think I would have pursued starting Mavens of Manufacturing or still wanting to be in this sector, because it can be a little intimidating. It can feel a little lonely when you don't see others that look like yourself. So I'm curious to know from you, Kaelyn and Jessica, who have been some of your main mentors throughout your journey. You both mentioned that your dads work at Columbia, so you've been exposed, from a younger age to some of these engineering and manufacturing concepts and ideas and processes. Who else has inspired you to pursue these opportunities within the sector?
Kaelyn, you want to go first if you want?
Okay. My dad is definitely my biggest mentor because I'm very lucky in the sense that I can see myself in the industry, I think, a lot more than most women can, because I see my dad and I'm like my dad. It's apple and tree. So that makes it a lot easier for me, I think, and it's definitely advantageous. So he is definitely my biggest mentor. He's the whole reason that I'm pursuing engineering, all of that. At school, there is another. So I'm on the Formula SAE team, which builds a race car. That's the club I'm most involved with at school. There's one of the seniors this year has been helping me out a lot and really encouraging me to stick with it, because there have been a few times where I kind of wanted to quit, and just encouraging us continue going, and that has been really helpful.
I like that they're stepping up, even being a student themselves, and encouraging you to stay and still going, because that can be really hard, especially in an educational environment where you feel like you don't have a tribe or anyone that you can go to. So I'm really grateful that there's another classmate of yours who's walking you through that. That's awesome. And I think it's just cool that you're working on a race car. I've never been able to have that experience. I'm a little jealous of that. What about you, Jessica? Who have been some of your main mentors?
Definitely my dad and my mom. So growing up, anything that was going wrong with the house that needed to be fixed, or with the cars that needed to be fixed, my mom was always right there by his side, helping him out. And then as I got older, so was I. So I guess a big thing, my mom was kind of a major influence of, you can do anything and fix anything. And I kind of, over time, I just really enjoy using tools. I don't know why. It just, it's hard to explain, but, and then here, so the Okura team is really great. I am the only female on the shop floor, I think the first and only. And same as when I was at Columbia Machine in block assembly and in paint department, I was the first and only woman to be on the shop floor. So I guess at times it's been a little bit intimidating, but everybody's been really great and welcoming, and they've helped me out and trained me, and it's all pretty much been on the job training. And yeah, I really enjoy the team here.
I think that's so great to hear, because I've had conversations with other women in this sector who've not had such a great experience. So my hat's off to Columbia for making it an all welcoming and all inclusive environment, because I think that's important for today, especially with all of the jobs that are going to be available or predicted to be available in 2030. We need to start making our work environments more welcoming and more open and more, appreciative of the diverse people that are coming in. And I think that's great to hear, because there's been stories out there that I've heard where it's not been the case. So I'm really glad to hear but you've had such a positive experience and you're thriving and you're moving up the ladder. Because I think another big misconception about engineering manufacturing is that it's really hard to start from one level and then move up the ladder within a company. But Jessica, you're a great example that you can start, at the basic level, and then you're moving up and you're learning all these different skills and opportunities and aspects of Columbia. So you're really expanding your knowledge base, and that's great because then when the next generation comes in, you can be that mentor for that next person and help them be a really good engineer or manufacturer. This LinkedIn user, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, but what's your favorite new tool? I think that's a great question.
My favorite new tool. Definitely my Milwaukee drill and my impact. Yeah.
What about you, Kaelyn? Do you have a favorite new tool?
There's a couple features in Inventor that are really cool. One that I've been playing around with recently is you can animate things, so you can show how something actually opens or closes or moves, which is pretty fun.
I think those digital animations are awesome and really helpful for manufacturers, especially companies like Columbia, because they can really show like the whole picture of a solution. So that's really great. Well, our time is almost up. So before I let all of you ladies go, I want to know, so what would your biggest piece of advice be for anyone, thinking about engineering or manufacturing? Because we do have this skills gap that's approaching us. They were really happy with your answer, by the way. Yes, Milwaukee girls. Sorry, I saw that pop up and it was like glitter. I was just like, that's really cool there. I can just hear them yelling yes. But what is some of your biggest advice that you can give to the next generation who might be on the fence of what they want to do for the rest of their life? Like, what would your pitch be for manufacturing to them? Kaelyn, do you want to start first?
Oh, sure, I can go first. I would. Sorry, could you say the question one more time?
Yeah, like what would your biggest advice be to the next generation who might not know what they want to do? Because there's this skills gap going on right now. And from my personal experience, when I talk to my daughter and her friends, none of them are looking into engineering or manufacturing. So I'm curious to know what your pitch would be to someone in the next generation to get them to come into manufacturing and engineering. What advice would you have?
I would say that there's a place for you. I know, especially being a woman in engineering, it's kind of hard because it feels like you don't belong, and that because your background is going to be different than a lot of your peers are, because most of your peers are male right now, it can feel like you don't belong here because growing up, you did different things, you had different hobbies. But we need people of all backgrounds to be in engineering. To be strong, you need that diversity. And there is a place for you, and you will find it. It just might take you a while to get there. And if you can stick through it, it can be really, really rewarding. And specifically manufacturing, I would say check it out because the technology is really cool and all of the different things you can do with it. And manufacturing is such a broad field. You can work in so many different sectors, which is not an advantage you get in a lot of other industries.
That's great. So Alejandro Lopez from Festo Engineering in Canada was the one that was yelling yes. And he was like, do it for the power tools. Thanks so much, Alejandro. I love that. Do it for the power tools. We do have some pretty cool tools or toys and technology to use to create things. So that's a great point. Jessica, what about you? What's some advice that you would give the next generation? Maybe even moms who might be considering a career change. What would you say to them?
Oh, so I didn't know that I was passionate about assembly work until I actually did it. And then it was something that I grew to love. And so I guess my biggest advice would just be like, explore your options and find something that you are passionate about and then stick with it.
I think that's a good point too, because with manufacturing, there's so much learning. There's just different things everywhere that you could learn, and it's never too late to like change your mind. Like you have that time to try something out, not like it, change your mind, and try something else out that you might like. It's never too late to switch tracks. Natalie, I wanted to ask you before I let you go too. One of the major things that I'm really passionate about is, community outreach and getting the next generation inspired. So, what are some of the things that Columbia is doing? I know you're doing the internships, and it sounds like you have a really great team with family members who, bring that knowledge to their families and kind of recruit their family members that way. But what else does Columbia do to work with in your community and get your community excited about what you're making and providing to, the United States? Because robotic palletizers are not just in Washington, they're all over the place.
Correct. So we work in our local community with a lot of the different robotics teams that are out there building robots to compete throughout the US. We also are working with a lot of the local colleges that teach those programs to have a partnership where they get to come here, work with some of the robots. We actually are also working with PMMI, which is the company that we're members of, that we do a lot of trade shows through. They actually match our donations. And so it allows us to get even more back to the community and the different programs within that.
I think that's a fantastic initiative by offering that match, kind of like some companies who match your 401k contribution. Right. I think that's so great to do because there so much can happen with that. You can get the resources, you could provide funding, you could get sponsorship. So I think that's a really great idea. And anyone who's part of a manufacturing company listening in, maybe consider that, as being part of a proactive business decision where you're matching stuff to help some of these robotics teams. We have a couple last minute comments. Oh, Allie G's on. She might be one of those LinkedIn users where the name's not coming up. But Alicia is one of the hosts of the new podcast series, Automation Ladies, that's going to be coming out. So make sure you watch for that. That's going to be great. She's also a programmer. She works with panels. She's just got a lot of content on LinkedIn. So if you don't know who she is, follow her. And then finally, I'm trying to encourage my 8-year-old daughter to get into the robotics and engineering. And she's Alejandro, thank you for putting your name there. And I think that's great too. So before I let you go, Natalie, if people want to learn more about Columbia and find out more about the solutions that you're creating there in your company, where can I direct them to? How can they reach out? And who do they contact?
So definitely go to our website. We've got tons of videos on that. So it would be www.columbiaokura.com. We have tons on our YouTube site. We're really engaged in social media. We try to post a couple different videos, FATs that we've done, different content, different places that we've been, customer sites, and you're more than welcome to reach out to myself at natpar@colmac.com. That's colmac.com. And I'd be more than willing to answer any questions that you or your children might have. And we are always welcome to have you guys come out and take a tour of our facility.
Are you going to be at any upcoming trade shows in the future?
So we are in a few small kind of niche specific shows here at the beginning of May. The Pet Food Forum, and then the IOM, which is the International of Operative Millers Association. And okay. Then in June, we're going to Expo Pack, which is in Mexico City, where I will be actually myself as the marketing manager setting up our cobot system. So even though you're in marketing, you can, in manufacturing, actually set up equipment. It's super fun and I love it. And then Pack Expo in October is probably one of the biggest shows that we will have an industrial running system as well as a collaborative palletizer. So come see us.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you ladies for joining me today on Mavens of Manufacturing. I really appreciate you all taking the time. I'm really excited to see what comes out of Columbia in the future. It sounds like you guys are doing amazing things, and it's really great to see women in different areas within manufacturing. To all those who've tuned in, thank you so much. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next week for another episode of Mavens of Manufacturing. Have a good weekend, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Bye.
This episode of Mavens has been sponsored by Fresh Horizons Group. Fresh Horizons Group is a family-run company that was founded on the premise of helping organizations and businesses better tell their story through high-quality branded apparel and promotional items. Freshen up your brand by contacting Fresh Horizons today at freshhorizonsgroup.com.